Dude, I have to tell you about the time that I saved 12 teenagers by telling them to put their hands down their pants. And you're going to want to do the same thing if you're ever in the situation that we found ourselves in. This experience changed the way that I think about facing death. So I was working a new job, first week on the job. It was a wilderness therapy hiking guide. You're out there with teens, troubled youth, going on like a 30-mile hike through rocky, mountainous terrain in the Tonto National Forest in Arizona, just north of Phoenix. And it's a beautiful, beautiful area. You carry a lot of heavy weight and you get overheated by hiking all day. But this was in January of 2021. So it was nice and cool. We're in Arizona, so it's not going to get as cold as other parts of the country. But anyway, interesting first week. I wasn't an outdoor guy, and so it was a huge challenge getting used to all that weight, aches and pains every night. We didn't sleep in cabins or tents. We just had, every person had one tarp to make a personal shelter with, and then you just sleep in your sleeping bag underneath. And just like so uncomfortable sleeping on the ground and just like, how am I going to survive this? And then a few days in, it starts to rain. And we don't have jackets per se. We have hoodies and sweaters, and we can layer up in such a way. And we also have a poncho made of plastic that has a hood and can go over your outer, be your outer layer. You can button up the sides and try to seal yourself in from the rain. But if it's a lot of rain, you get pretty wet. And so that's another element. It's like, I'm freezing cold all day. It's uncomfortable to be wet, but it's also better to have something, and then your heat from hiking can keep you warm. And so just a whole week of different kinds of challenges, and it gets more and more complicated until one of the second to last days. We're getting closer to the final destination, another 5-hour hike until we get to our final destination. Maybe more like 7. We kind of had meandered on our path. And we need to get to our final destination so that the workers can get switched out by the new workers, and so the kids can meet with their therapists. And that all happens at each week's new final destination. So we have to get there in order to have those things. And then they'll bring food packs in, and the kids are excited about new food because they've eaten all the good stuff in the food pack already, so they're excited for more good stuff. So 2 days out from reaching Final D, we wake up and there's an inch of snow on the ground. This is not how it's supposed to be. We're in Arizona. It's cold, it's January, but we're not ready for snow. We're like, okay, well, we'll stay in today. The next day, snowing more. There's 3 inches of snow on the ground. And it's snowing steadily. And we're like, we have to push through and go today. So we hit the trail, and the snow is falling heavily. It's not dry snow, it's wet snow. So we're getting soaked, and the wind is picking up, and the snow frequency, the thickness is starting to intensify. And we go for a couple hours just pushing as hard as we can, because we're like, we just got to get through this snow. If it's going to keep on picking up day after day, it'll be better for us to have gone today. So after a couple hours in, we catch up to one of the other groups. It's the girl group. I'm with the troubled youth boy group above 18. This is the troubled youth group of girls under 18. 9 girls. We only have 3 guys in our group. They have 4 faculty staff, only one of which is a dude. The rest are ladies. 2 of them are new. And so it's their first week on the trail as well. So they're feeling what I'm feeling, all the struggle and the tumult and the turmoil. And these girls are not moving fast. They are not buttoned up for this with their ponchos. It's just their sweaters. And they are crying because they're in a blizzard. And at the point that we meet them at, that's the highest intensity of the snowfall. And it was blizzard conditions. It's irrefutable. It was just so intense. And so it became clear, looking at their situation, they needed help, and we decided to help them make camp. So we all get out of the ravine. We're surrounded by mountains. We've been going down this ravine. We get off to the side on this flat area. We're like, everyone find some tinder. So everyone goes and grabs stuff that could be used to help light a fire. And the experienced staff members that aren't having their first week on trail all get together, about three or four of them, and start trying to make an emergency fire. They open this emergency flammable pouch of this like colorful dust that's supposed to light up really fast, and they can't get it lit. And minutes pass by until finally the staff member, the experienced staff member from my group, curses. He literally like says the F word to the skies and shakes his fist and holds his hand as though he's been punched, like hit in the hand or something. Like, and all three of them are like cupping their hands. Their hands are freezing and they're not getting it lit, and they're becoming less and less effective in the effort because their hands are so cold. And so hearing him scream and realizing that they weren't making the fire is a turning point for me, because I'm like, I can't rely on them. We need to warm up in order to like get into our packs and make camp, and I can't rely on them to warm me up. And so I immediately turn and I start trying to open up my pack. Our packs are not a zipper and it's open situation. Our packs are a tarp wrapped around all of our gear that we've tied paracord around. And there are knots. And if you can't open the knots, you can't get the rope off and you can't get into your pack. And my hands are so cold after a few moments of trying to open it that they immediately become totally ineffective and like just become like they're not part of my body. It's like trying to use sticks to, and so I start to panic and I'm like, no. And I realize I have to stop, and I take a deep breath and I'm like, I can't rely on anyone else. I have to figure out how to warm up my hands to get into my pack. And immediately I realized that I should put my hands against my skin. And my first thought is to put it right here in the belt line, because this part of your clothing is pressed really hard against your body and it's really warm. Your shirt is not pressed as hard against your body and it's loose. And all my gear had been protecting this area of my pants so it wasn't wet. So this was the warmest spot. And so I said, immediately turned and was like, everybody put your hands in your pants. And instead of all the kids immediately seeing the wisdom of how this will save our lives, they all just laugh at me. And I realize that they're all in shock. They just respond to it being cringe and they're out of it. I just realize, and that brings my panic level higher, but I just know that I have to stay focused because the panic is going to lead us to be ineffective. And so the fact that I know how to warm my hands, I'm like, this is a glimmer of hope. So I convince them eventually. Everybody starts warming up their hands. I get in my pack. I get out of my wet clothes, put dry stuff on. I lend out some of my other dry stuff to some of the wettest girls and have them change. And then everyone starts getting into their packs. They need to take breaks to warm up their hand, but then they get in and we're able to get to our sleeping bags. Our sleeping bags are rated for 40 degrees below zero. So it's our emergency safety net in a situation like this. And so everyone starts getting into their sleeping bags. Even though everyone's wet, it's not ideal at all. So it's like, get as dry as you can, then get in your sleeping bag. And then I start doing more. I start realizing they need dry tinder. That's part of the problem, that they don't have dry tinder. So I have pieces of wood for a different purpose. We make things out of wood there. But I was bad at making things out of wood, and I was just like, who cares? I can get more stuff. So I chop it all up into tinder stuff, and I'm like, here it is. And then I also give them, eventually someone's like, we need to burn some extra cloth. Does anyone have any clothing they could spare? And I gave a pair of my underwear because it was flammable and dry. And so with that, they start making the fire. And then there's certain things that we do. We make a shelter over the fireplace, like with a really big tarp. And so I start setting up the tarp with some of the other guys in my group after they've gotten more dry. And so I start this whole effort among the rest of the group to like get these kids dry and warm and into their packs while these guys keep on working on the fire. I help find materials for it. Once they get the fire going, I start gathering wood. And it's like I'm the only one that can remain focused for the rest of the day, for like the next 12 hours until early in the morning, once the sun has gone down and after the snow has stopped falling. By like there are little moments where the snow stopped falling, but actually it kept going all throughout the night. And so by that time, I had set up 2 group tarps, helped made another fire. Our small group needed to be separate from the girls' main group. But, you know, I would keep on taking breaks, getting firewood for our fire, firewood for their fire, help the girls set up their shelters. And so finally, I make this cup of food, and I have figured out by that time in the week how to make a really good cup of food. And so I make this delicious cup of food on our fire, and it's piping hot. And all this time, after my buddy's failure to make the fire, he's just been sitting with his head in his hands for hours. And he just hates the situation and is so uncomfortable. And so I give him the last third of my cup of food. And so that is a turning point for him too. And then the next day, no snow, beautiful clear sky, and our groups start to intermingle. They're not supposed to, but we just let them because it's like, we survived this. And it becomes a day off of like no hiking. And everybody's just, instead of being despondent and despairing and close to freezing, you know, everyone's gotten over those hurdles. And so it just made me sit back and just marvel, because I was untrained and did not have experience. But I learned through this situation that the extremity, when it becomes life and death, your fear is going to be there. And your fear can either stop you from doing anything, or it can motivate you to do the only thing that's possible to do, which is to do the wisest thing immediately, now. And the situation tells you what the wisest thing is, because I need to get warm. We all need to get warm in order to survive. How do I do it? I need to get into my pack. How do I get into my pack? I need to warm up my hands. How do I warm up my hands? It helps you scale down to what is the next thing to focus on. And so the extremity of the situation guided me through it. It guides you through itself and helps you know what to do now. That is the most important thing to do now. So next time you're stuck in the wilderness in a blizzard, put your hands in your pants.